Hey, welcome to Culture Shock. I want to bust a couple of myths this week. There's a couple of things that are on my mind, all related to the concept of core purpose, which is something that is becoming increasingly part of the culture jargon. There's this recurrent trope that says that core purpose is everything. If we don't get the core purpose right of our organizations, then we're missing all sorts of fundamental things. Things like, for example, the ability to integrate employees who require some sort of an articulation of core purpose for them to be able to attach themselves to the organization, and an ability to connect with customers who really want to buy from organizations whose purpose they agree with, and so on and so on. The problem is, I think a lot of this kind of stuff is idealistic, and I think it's interesting, but I don't think it's necessarily true on the ground all the time. And so I'm challenged by it, because I think if we get too carried away by this stuff, there's already enough people in the world who think that the notion of culture and engagement is kind of soft skill stuff. And if we get too carried away with some of our thinking, if we get too idealistic, then we start to lose some of the practical value in all of this. So it's really important to me that we get some of this stuff right. And I've got an idea at the end, which I'll share with you, which I think you can do right now, do this week, which I think will actually help you identify a core purpose, or at least roll out and articulate a core purpose for your organization, which anybody can do. So the couple of things here, first of all, the one, let's just do them in a random order, because as they come into my head, this idea that customers only want to buy from organizations whose purpose they agree with is a wonderful idealistic idea, but I don't think it's true. And I think the problem, if we start thinking it's true, then it leads us to do all sorts of things which lead us down all sorts of garden paths, and they take up massive amounts of time and energy and money, and that's a bad thing. And here's why I struggle with the thinking there. I think that if you look at the state, certainly in South Africa anyway, which is where of course I am, the state of the economy is pretty bad. I mean, people are pretty worried about it. I think for the most part, people, even 70% of people who are employed, and that's a too small a percentage in South Africa already, but 70% of those people are living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, I really don't think we've got time to worry too much about the purpose of the organization that manufactured the product that we're about to buy. I think for the most part, people buy on price, and that's always going to be the case. And if we're worried about trying to attract customers with a broad sort of statement of purpose, I think we can spend a lot of money and achieve absolutely nothing with it. Similarly, I think this notion that we need to articulate core purpose in order for employees to understand how they can find purpose at work. I mean, I don't know how sociopathic you have to be to try and find more ways to keep employees at work. I think people are quite capable of finding a core purpose for their lives, quite capable of finding the interests and the exciting things in their lives that they want to pursue. And a job, if you do it right, is a way of enabling some of that stuff. Now, that doesn't mean that they shouldn't have a great time at work. That doesn't mean that it shouldn't do something that is worthwhile. But the fundamental part of this for them is getting a decent paycheck, making sure they have some fun, making sure that they can grow a little bit. And if they're getting all of that stuff right, then they're probably quite content to go about their business. Doing their job, etc., without you having to lock them down into some lofty articulation of this vision for the future and how we'll expand the world if we get this right. It's hard for a lot of organizations to come to that, and that's kind of my point here. If you're Apple and you're Steve Jobs and you talk about putting a dent in the universe, it's very easy to kind of say that kind of thing and have people go, wow, that's big, but I get it. Not all organizations are going to do that. It's going to be hard for you to do, and so you get locked in a cycle of trying to say something clever, when the reality is what you should just be doing is giving people more purpose through a better workspace, a better work environment, a better work attitude, a better work philosophy. And this is really what it comes down to. So to me, if we were to start thinking about what the core purpose of your organization should be right now, how about growing people, how about rather than trying to come up with a core purpose which envisages some footprint you'll leave, some legacy on the land, that you're dealing with this notion of instead of focusing on the day-to-day. And the core purpose of your organization is to give people a great day-to-day, your people a great day-to-day. Because if your people have a great day-to-day, if they have a great day today, and then they have a great day tomorrow, and day by day their experience is good, that seems to me to be a decent enough purpose for you to aim for inside your organization. Ultimately, you're producing a product, you're producing a service, you're doing something like that. Ultimately, that's what the output is anyway. The way you get there is through high engagement of employees who voluntarily give great behaviors, great attitude, great initiative, who do work well. And the way they get there is because they want to, right? It's that voluntary thing. So if we should aim for one thing as a core purpose inside our organizations, no matter how much we might be able to articulate a grand legacy going forward, if we were able to articulate one thing as a core purpose for our organization, I would think it would be to grow our people, to make sure they have some fun doing work that is worthwhile, work that's worth doing, and that they can build their lives and their lifestyles, grow themselves on a personal basis, as a means of association, or as a result of association with the organization, through a salary or through education, or whatever it might be. That to me seems to be enough. And I think if we do that stuff right, then we might be getting closer to really taking core purpose seriously and getting some sort of an outcome out of it that is going to be helpful, useful, have some longevity to it, etc., etc. Anyway, it's been food for thought for me all week. It's food for thought, I hope, for you, and I wish you a very pleasant week.